Welcome back to the Injectors Business Blueprint, the show where we talk about what it actually takes to run a med spa. You know, beyond cute scrubs and Instagram reels.
I'm Brandon, Injector, med spa founder, and yes, I still actually see patients. Wild, right?
And I'm Erin, business coach for med spa owners who are tired of guessing their way through growth. I've done it all, leading teams and running spas around the world, fixing all kinds of disasters. Now, I just help you avoid them.
If you're here for fluff, feel-good quotes, or business advice from someone who hasn't held a syringe since Botox was new, you're in the wrong place.
We're pulling back the curtain, pouring a metaphorical glass of wine, and talking real business strategy, real team drama, and how to actually build a business that doesn't break you. Let's get into it.
Hey guys, welcome back to another episode of the Injectors Business Blueprint. You're joined by my lovely voice as well as Miss Erin.
Hi.
And for those of you on YouTube, you are getting a visual delight today because we both look like we just got done with Pilates or yoga. We're both in our gym attire. We're loving life. But today is the day before the July 4th holiday weekend. Mm-hmm. And I unfortunately had to reschedule from yesterday when we normally record on Wednesdays. And we're getting it in, and I made the stupid decision to think that I could do this in my car, and I could not. So I'm outside. If you hear some birds chirping, it's a little nature. So you know what? We're just going to roll with it because in life, you got to pivot and you got to make things work. And I feel like I'm on that eternal struggle to make work-life balance happen and trying to have a little bit of fun today and mix it with some nice weather because in Pittsburgh, PA, it has been horse poo for weather. It's all rain. And I think that's what you're getting, right, Erin?
Yeah, it's rainy season. And let me just tell you, rainy season has uncovered a couple little holes in our roof.
No, bad or just like
the joys. So we're just taking it in stride. But the good news is when it rains here, it rains for like an hour or 2 hours and then it just is gone. So I'm good with it.
They're not like major, right? Ooh, okay.
Little bit, but it's okay. It's all good.
Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, you know, whenever you get these challenges, you're just like, oh my God, I know how to like patch drywall. I know how to do things.
So you're trying to DIY too. Oh, that's good.
Yeah. Trying to, take it on as the universe wanted me to have a new life skill. So here we are. We're just
that's okay.
Making lemonade.
I've changed a toilet or two in my life, so I completely understand.
Yeah. So, all right, what are we getting into, Brandon? Because it's been a minute and I feel like so much life and business has happened since we last chatted. So what's coming up for you that's been a pattern or like something that is top of mind right now?
I think top of mind, not so much for me, but one thing we kind of wanted to dive into, we were getting into a couple topics in our last two episodes about it's summer. It might be a little bit slower for some. Usually the J months in aesthetics are just, typically terrible, or just not terrible, just not as busy as we'd like. People are vacationing. People are trying to sit by the pool like me and appropriately cover their face. But one thing that you can do is kind of proactively forecast what's going to go on in Q3 and Q4. And part of that might be hiring, right?
Yeah, totally. It's interesting because yesterday I had 2 back-to-back client calls where everything was like, as we work together and we're looking at Q3 goals, right? So it just kicked off in July and we have like a check base with all of our clients that's like, what's happening in Q3? And one of the questions that we asked them to reflect on Q2 was like, what is a decision that you had to make in Q2 that you would have made faster in retrospect now? And so what that brought about for a couple of clients yesterday was definitely they had to let some team members go. So I had to walk through some firings last week, but that posed for them the thought that like, oh, I need to replace these people I need to hire, but I don't want to make the same mistakes. And it's actually perfect timing. What I typically see in this cycle of ebbs and flows of business is these, like, even though we're into July now, we really have like less than 8 weeks of summer, meaning kids are going back to school, which means most people will get back into the routine by the end of August. So that's 8 weeks from now. And so if you're looking to expand your team, if you're looking to absolutely crush Q4, Q3, or like at least the end of July into early August and onward, we need to be hiring and making sure that our team is ready to absolutely crush. So what that looks like is usually hiring in August, like mid to late August. So that means if you look at a timeline, we have to kind of do a work back schedule of we need to be getting those ads out now. You need to be reaching out to your network now and just letting people know like, hey, I'm expanding my team. I'm filling a vacancy. I'm looking for this specific person, because sometimes the hunt for that right next employee or next addition to your team, it might take you like 6 weeks or 8 weeks to actually come across a resume or a person that you feel like, wow, this person feels like the right fit. So I always tell clients proactively in the early days of July, you want to start thinking about who do you need on your team to close out the year strong? And you need to start actively pursuing that in July.
Absolutely. And, thinking about it a little bit more, this honestly is a perfect time to start that process, right? You're a little bit less busy. You can dedicate and focus time into either sifting through some resumes that you may have gotten, some random inquiries. I know I've had people personally drop off resumes and, even though I don't have that need right now, I don't know what's going to happen I do know what's going to happen in Q3 and Q4, but, you can kind of sift through that. And even if you are like actively onboarding someone, when it's slower and you might have more time to dedicate to those patient appointments that you might abbreviate normally and squeeze them in, you might be able to expand that a little bit, have that provider on board, shadow, get used to seeing other providers and what they're doing. So it's kind of that perfect time to do it. My question is, if you don't have those, people in your inbox or that saved folder, and you don't have those resumes on your desk, what, in your opinion, is the best way in aesthetics to kind of recruit and find someone? Because I have some thoughts, but I'm very interested from your perspective.
I have two thoughts that come up when you ask me this. The first one is like, okay, how do I help people avoid making the wrong hire? So the first thing that comes to mind when you ask me this is like, before we even take it to the job boards and the message boards in our network, which I'll kind of give you an idea of how I guide clients to do that. The first thing is like, have you actually called out the clarity around this specific role? Like, have you defined what that role is, and not just the job title or, the time that they're going to spend in your business, full-time, part-time? Is it hybrid? Is it in clinic? Is it virtual? Aside from that stuff, have you really clarified, like, what is the purpose of this role? Because I see people make this mistake all the time where they're like, I need help. And then they hire for help and not a specific role. And then they get totally like disenchanted by this person because they're like, that they're not really helping me. And it's like, because you didn't really call out what they should be doing, what the expectation is, the non-negotiables of this person, the job description. So number one is, before you start like reaching out or advertising, and not necessarily paid ads, but just like putting it out there, the first thing is like, you have to understand your non-negotiables around this role. What is it? Have absolute clarity on the responsibilities, the purpose, the actual job description. I love that line, like including limited, or what's it called? It's including but not limited to.
Right.
Yeah.
No, that is such a good call out. I am like,
so you
sitting
have to
here
know
like,
first, because like a lot of people are like, I'll just take that person driving by on the bus because they just need help. And I get that. But it's like, specifically, what do you need help with and what is the expectation? Because if you, like, that saying, if you stand for nothing, you'll fall for anything. And
Right.
so you'll hire someone in because you need help and you feel desperate, but then they feel like not the right hire. Maybe they're not meeting an expectation that you never verbalized in the first place. So number one is like get real clear on what you need them for, their purpose, their responsibilities, how they're going to be accountable in that role, meeting your expectations so that they actually understand what success looks like inside of that role. So get clear. But then the other thing is like, where do you go? Honestly, most of my clients have had a ton of success with just actually creating an email to their lead base, their database by saying like, hey, we're expanding our team. I have more clients that have hired their clients, like, you know, just not like their best client, but someone who understands their business. They're someone who is their ideal client already. So they're like, okay, I understand how you move through this. I understand the services that you do, the quality that you perform at. So I've had a lot of clients find their next hire through sending out an email or even just when the patients are coming in saying like, hey, just in case you know anyone, we're hiring for a client concierge or we're hiring for a bookkeeper, we're hiring for, you know, an esthetician. And sometimes, right, and this might relate to you right now, is like, the clients that come and see you for neuromodulator or fillers or anything like that, you're not quite yet fully entrenched in the facials. Where if you were like, okay, I want to hire a medical esthetician to do facials, you asking your clients, because they probably get facials somewhere else. So they're gonna be like, oh, my facial girl. Yeah. Because, you know, people chit chat in the treatment room, and sometimes you get the impression that that service provider doesn't love where they work or that they're working really hard. They maybe feel a bit underappreciated. So definitely let your clients know that you're expanding your team, you're hiring. There's a ton of different, I think, like industry job boards. If you just like literally use ChatGPT or Google it, there's a ton. Of course, you want to go to your regular recruitment sites. Honestly, where I'm at right now, I don't really tell clients to use Indeed. And the major reason why is I just get like an overwhelming response of resumes that they end up spending hours going through, which also is like, I have a whole other sequence where how to shortlist people. But there's LinkedIn. LinkedIn's another great one. I know you post a lot on LinkedIn, ZipRecruiter. And I think, you know, again, reach out to your laser reps, your skincare reps, like all of these other partnerships that you have, because they service other med spas. So there's a lot of people in positions right now that don't love where they're at, but they're super talented and gifted. So there's my 2 cents on like, where would you post? Where do you find? Oh yeah. And obviously like post on your own Instagram.
Absolutely.
That's like number one for me. Post on your Instagram.
I think that's great. I think Instagram can kind of get a little daunting depending on how many followers you have and like the quality of those followers.
Yeah. Which is why you need to call out like, who are you looking for so that you can easily like shortlist people, or just like, you know, people or just get cut because you're like, you don't meet the minimum requirement, like a non-negotiable means if you don't have exactly, specifically, precisely these qualities or these certifications, like I'm not even going to consider you.
Absolutely. And I think, you know, that reaching out to your existing client base is so smart. I know so many people in so many different roles, whether it was an aesthetic injector, whether it was a practice manager, they were existing clients and they just like expressed interest at one point in time, but maybe it wasn't the right fit or the right time. But, you know, when that kind of expression of interest comes out, you know, that might be the right time to snag them. You know, and there are some like specific recruiting agencies or people that really kind of niche in looking for aesthetic providers. I think that that's one avenue. It's a little bit less personal, right? But it's more traditional. At least they're vetted, or you should make sure that that person that is recruiting is vetting these people and not just, hey, my name's Susie Q. I took one weekend course and I really, really, really want to do aesthetics because I really like doing lips. You know, you need somebody a little more, you know, qualified, someone who like builds their resume themselves. I think is someone that, you know, if they invest in themselves, then you can invest in them. Yeah.
Yeah. And you just mentioned something that I thought's like so important, which is like, as you're reaching out to these, your clients, and also like I find a lot of people hire their clients because the clients come already because they love your culture, they love the experience, they understand it, and like they are ready to already champion your brand. They already come in loving your brand. So I do feel like a lot of the time that's why it's a successful hire, is because they've been a good client. They're maybe not your top client, but they're pretty consistent. They've come to you for several years. So they understand the inner workings to a certain degree, but like they already love your brand. And so therefore they're already like championing you. They're your cheerleader. So if they're working like a front desk position, they're excited to promote your business and promote you. And they're also like a walking result because they're a client. So they're like, oh my God, I had this done by Aaron, or I had this done by Brandon. It was phenomenal. And therefore they can do better sales for you because they actually had it done.
Absolutely. Your VIP clients, or those ones that are already referring patients into the practice to be patients, will certainly have qualified leads that could be potential providers in the space, or whatever capacity that you need. I know that I have actually personally and professionally utilized referrals from patients for a myriad of things.
Oh yeah, same. Like I post on my Instagram as well. Like I just moved to Tampa and I'm like, where do I go to get my nails done? Where do I go to get my lashes done? Where do I go? So yeah, I mean, reach out to your own network because they already know you. They understand your brand or your expectations. But like, again, just being super clear and like very stringent on like, these are my requirements, so that as people send in their resume, and like, I am so cutthroat. Like if I post something and I say, don't send me a DM, send me your resume through email, and you send me a DM, like you're shortlisted. You're cut. I don't care how much experience you have, like you can't follow instructions. So like already that's a red flag for me. But like you have to be like that when you're really recruiting for someone who you want to be part of your business, like in the long run, or again, depending on the role. But if you can't follow basic instructions, like I don't have time for that, right? When you're scaling a business and you're trying to grow, it's like I need people who can get on board and like do simple things.
Absolutely. Yeah. When you miss that one basic thing, that would piss me off more than anything else. Like you couldn't listen to the one thing I said and we haven't even started yet.
Exactly.
No.
And here's one other thing I just like want to make mention, because this happens to a lot of clients of mine where they're like, but I did a post, or they did one post, or they're like, well, it's on my website, which we all know, like most people don't go to your website if you're an aesthetic practice to see if you're hiring. Like they're looking on job boards or they're looking on your social media. So leave the post up for at least 7 to 14 days minimum. Like if you're posting it on your grid or you're putting it up on job boards, but also you need to be re-promoting that at least 2 to 3 times a week across all your channels. Because again, like part of the algorithm is like, sometimes I see reels that are 3 weeks old from someone else's platform. So just keep that in consideration. Like don't just post it once and hope that you're going to bring in like the best candidate. You really need to be, just like anything else, you need to be consistent with it over the next several weeks and call out the like cutoff date of taking CV so people understand that like this isn't a free for all. Or if they do see your reel or your post later on because the algorithm like pushed it later, then they know, hey, we're only taking resumes until July 30th. Or whatever. So that way people understand that like, I need to get it in by this date. Otherwise I'm not going to qualify at all. So I like to set kind of those boundaries within that application process, just so people like, again, it gives you a good window into how they are. Like, can you follow instructions that are basic? Can you follow that guideline and that timeline? So yeah, again, it's a great time to hire, but just those couple things around where to post, but before you even get to the posting, you have to really understand and be clear with yourself. Like, what is my intention with this role? What is my intention with this hire? And let's call out the expectations and responsibilities and what success looks like in that role before we even start putting it out there.
I love that. Slow to hire, quick to fire.
Always.
Always.
Yeah,
That's
it's so
good.
interesting because like I've had clients who literally like I remember two clients very specifically. One of them I told over a year ago, I was like, listen, if you keep this person on your team, I promise you they're holding you back from your next million. And at the time when I said it, like, it's not always the easiest thing for me to say because it's like, I love my clients. I love their brands. I'm like in it to win it with them. So I know it's painful, but also part of my job is to make them see through the lens of a CEO that like, you have to hire slow and fire fast. You have to see when something's not working and like actually just take action right away. And so it took her about a year and she finally let her go. And there was another client that her payroll was super high. And I was like, this person should really be contributing, not being an expense, blah, blah, blah. She kept her on for another, I think, 8 months. And then when she finally let her go, the energy in the place actually changed and her profitability went up. And so for both of those cases, they were quick to hire and slow to fire. And the thing that suffered was the rest of her team and money in her bank account. So guys, I'm telling you, it's okay to look like the bad guy for one day or be the villain in someone's story that does not pay your bills because they got to create a story to make them feel good about what they didn't do. Choose you, right? Like
Exactly.
hire slow, fire fast. If it's not working, it's not working. Let's call a spade and get them out.
I 100% agree. One thing I wanted to do was kind of fast forward a little bit. Let's say we found that ideal person. How do we kind of like integrate them on social media? Because there are, usually like the star or the owner or the lead injector, is usually prominently displayed on social media, or they may have more skills than others. But, how do you kind of get them a little bit busier, or how do you integrate them into your marketing plan whenever they're new to the practice, they're new to your patients, they kind of need that sign off, but how do you integrate them, physically and on social media?
I love this question because there's so many, and this is probably for your group as well, right? Mm-hmm. So many people come to you and they're like, how do I get this other person busy? First of all, I want to give you permission to let you know that ain't your job. First of all, it is not your job to get another provider busy. Your job is to hold the expectation, the accountability, and the clarity of success in the role and clearly explain to them, this is what success looks like. Part of that means that they have to promote themselves. We all know that social media is your online portfolio. It's your digital business card. So anyone like in aesthetics, because one, it's so intimate and personal, but it's also so tactical that like, you have to show your work. You have to show who you are. You have to show up so that people can choose you. You can't have a faceless brand in aesthetics. It's just not possible because people are not going to ever pay you if they have no idea who you are, what your skill level is, or the outcome you can get for them. So let's be clear, okay? You can't have a faceless brand. And what I typically see is all the people that I'm working with that are doing 100, 200K months, those are people who have practices where everyone is fully on board with the fact that like social media is not a form of entertainment, but rather a form of promoting what they are expert at. They understand so clearly that this is their digital business card, that they're there to showcase, this is who I am, this is what I do, this is why I'm expert, this is why I might be the right person for you to work with. So they make it a non-negotiable for their team to show up on social media. And the moment that you don't make that optional anymore and you actually make it part of their contractual agreement that they have to participate in the marketing and promotion of themselves and services, that will be a game changer for you. So you have to get them involved with that. Again, like I did some stats on a call with my program members the other day, and I think it's something like business, like aesthetic practices that post regularly and intentionally. So not just regularly, like throwing shit at the wall and seeing what sticks. It's intentionally creating value-based content to showcase what they can do for clients, and including all team members have something like 146% higher close rate and new client rate than any other, like their competitors. So if you're someone who's like worried about what you're looking like on social media, or you're allowing your team or that other provider to just kind of hide and avoid, you are missing the plot here. That
Absolutely.
is such a great platform to showcase everything. And really, like, that's where people are making their decision to reach out to you or not.
I couldn't agree more. And there are a couple things that are standing out just in the past couple months for me, specifically having two part-time providers that are not used to social media. Number one, you really have to analyze your market and what hits. Are people Facebookers? Are they Instagrammers? Is there a mix? What is that mix? Are you posting to both? There's so many like kind of, I think, technical variabilities there that you need to kind of figure out. Like my area is very heavy on Facebook and like asking questions in like the community groups, like what's happening in Westmoreland County, what's happening in Greensburg. There's literally thousands of these groups and there's no way that you can post to all of them, but trying to figure out the quality and quantity is really like something that you really just need to keep a gauge and a pulse on, because it can change. You could try to put something in there and it just never hits. Sometimes you just get that one and it's great, but like I'm really trying to like hone in on that now. And number two is never assume that any provider or new employee knows how to post social media on the most basic level, because for almost the past 6 months, I have been assuming that reposting something that I create is or collaborate on is just very easy for people, and they really don't know. They're not used to it. And that's on me for assuming that they knew the expectation, but we need to go over like a little social media training about literally just like reposting stories or reposting and adding a link to buy products or anything of that sort, because, you know, they just didn't, they're not used to doing that. They're much more Facebook oriented.
Yeah, I always like, in a non-condescending way, I just want to like, I kind of treat it like it's your first day on planet Earth, and let me tell you how to like move through the system, right? And you get to do that for whatever the system is in your practice. One thing I thought of while you were chatting and you were saying like, yeah, I was assuming, but since you're the lead provider in your practice and I know you're going through this with your team members, is like getting them comfortable and walking them through the process. One thing I want people to avoid doing, especially if you've hired people on recently or you're thinking about bringing people on and you've been the main provider for like a minute or since the beginning of time of your business, what I want you to think about is transitioning how you actually use content and copy for yourself versus the business. So you might have to shift some of that language and verbiage in and around, this is how we do it at Empower. This is how we do it. This is the Empower way, right? As opposed to saying, this is Brandon, our lead provider. And then everyone looks at it to be, I have to work with Brandon as opposed to I have to work with Empower. So one of the shifts I work on with my clients who are looking to scale is usually it's them and their brand and their technique that got them so far. And so as they add team members, they get a bit lost because they're like, none of my clients want to work with the secondary injector or want to work with the medical esthetician. Like, how do I do this? And so you have to start repositioning your brand, as a company, as a business, and not as you. So you might be the one that starts to, get the traction and develop the business. But if you're looking to scale, it has to be based around the brand experience and what the brand does so that people know that it's a brand standard that you get those results, right? So again, just if you're worried that people are continuing to choose you over the new hires, well, you actually might be in an indirect way helping them continue to choose you instead of looking at it as this is the standard that we hold at this practice, not just the standard of the individual provider.
Absolutely. I love all of that. And it's definitely like a shift that I need to embody, because to me, it's something that's very natural, but it's very me. It's not like of the brand standards. And I did go through an initial branding exercise when I created Empower, and I need to really circle back to that and make sure that that's a part of all the conversations, including social media. So thank you for that. I'd love that.
Yeah. Yeah. I think because it's, especially for someone like you, someone like me, and like even like the spa business coach, like for the last several years for me, I'm like, I am the spa business coach, but I've had to detach from that and say like, we represent the spa business coach. So the spa business coach now is this, character of a mentorship, a guide, someone or an entity that is helping you scale. It's no longer about Erin, because what I learned over several years, and this applies to injectors as well, is like people got great results when they worked with me, but over time, like my ego wanted to hold on to the fact that it was me because I'm so good.
Right.
But really, as I'm scaling my business and shifting the way that I work with clients, getting the same result, what I realize is it's my systems, it's my processes, it's my method that I have put together in a very specific way that unlock the potential, that unlock the scalability, the profitability, and all the things that people work with us for. So yeah, it took me a good year for my ego to finally die off and realize like, Erin, it's not you, it's your method. And when you can start to really like package up your method, that's how you're going to retrain and develop your team through your method. And that method becomes your brand standard of how you practice, whether that's in the treatment room or how you greet the clients or how you reach out to clients. It becomes a brand standard of practice as opposed to me.
I love it.
That just
Everybody
helps, right?
needs
It
to
helps
just
people
rewind like
separate.
60 seconds and listen to that all over again. Seriously, that's amazing.
Yeah, because, the other thing, and this has nothing to do with hiring, but I'm going to say it because we're kind of like on this train of thought, is several of my clients, when they actually started to talk about like numbers and metrics and revealing, these are our goals and whatnot with their team, I was saying like, don't say these are my goals. These are the business goals. Or like, if we are making a purchase in the business, it isn't you buying something, because a lot of owners, especially when your team is small, will make that slight adjustment in their verbiage and it changes everything. When you go from, well, it costs me money to have you here versus it's eating up business capital. Right? That your team sees it differently. And so as like, again, when I'm working with clients and they're like, I don't want to talk about numbers or goals or because I don't want them to think I'm greedy. But we all know like the money is not going in your pocket, at least not all of it. Right? So we also need to let them into the window to see, hey, this is a business. This is not like my personal money train here. Like, money comes in, it pays for expenses, and whatever's left over goes to the shareholders, right? So
Absolutely.
I say with quotations, because again, you want to always present like the business is not you, even though it is you, or it started from you and your talent and your gifts and your passion. But eventually, if you want to scale, everything becomes about the business. It's the business method, the business standard, the business's money, the business's expense, not you, because then your team and even your clients to a certain degree see you as the business and can't separate the two. So that can be a bottleneck for you and that can hold you back.
Absolutely. No, I think that's an amazing call out to start doing early, is using those kind of like not singularly focused statements and words. Use like we, our, us, like kind of thing, because it can help you, I think, when you come to a conversation that might be a little bit more difficult to have, like hiring or firing. Like, it's not me. It's just like, this is not a good fit for you, the culture of the business, blah, blah, blah. So I definitely see the value in that. I love that.
Yeah, because, some people are afraid to hire because they're like, I can't afford it. stop looking at the business as your personal bank account. We got to look at decision making as, can the business afford it, or can the business invest in this? Can the business survive without doing that or without making that investment? So starting to separate it helps you make decisions a lot easier because you're less emotionally attached. I mean, listen, like all of us are in business. So like a lot of us see our businesses as our babies. So business is personal for us, but at the same time, you have to kind of hold this paradox position where you are the business, but you're not the business. You are the business representative.
Amazing. Love it. This has been so fun today. I think we covered a lot of ground in a little bit of time. And I think that if anybody is, on the precipice of hiring someone, that this is going to be so valuable, and trying to get them incorporated into the practice right before the end of summer, when mommies send those little kiddos back to school, grab their white wine, wait 24 hours, and then come see us for injectables. Like, they're going to be ready to rock and roll.
Yeah, I love it. And just keep in mind, like, the things that you're doing now is setting you up for the rest of the year. Like, that hit me hard. We're 6 months left of the year. So like decisions that we're making now are going to help us be ready for Q4, where it's like all hands on deck. We're all going to be busy. We've all got thriving practices in Q4. And so set yourself up for success now. Start putting it out there. Think about who needs to be joining your team, not today, but so that you can close out the year strong and hit those goals like you want to. So yeah, it's not too early. It's the perfect time, as you mentioned, to start thinking about that, get clarity on what it is that you're looking for, so you can start putting that out into the ether. Call in your perfect next hire.
Love it. Amazing, guys. Well, anything else, Erin? I think we should wrap up and get started with our holiday weekend. What do you think?
I think so. I am ready.
All right. Well, thank you guys for another amazing episode of the Injector Business Blueprint. Please like, share, subscribe, all the things. Give it to your aesthetic bestie and even your enemy too. Have a great day. That's a wrap on this episode of the Injector's Business Blueprint, where we turn chaos into clarity. If you found value in today's episode, hit subscribe, leave us a review, and share with another injector or med spa owner who's ready for real talk. Check us out on Instagram at InjectorBizBlueprint. Until then, stay blessed to be stressed.